Garry's Mod 2006 is a sandbox game originally created as a mod for an even older game called Half-Life. This 20-year-old game allows players to engage in chaos.
I'm about yo. What is going on, buddy?
Creativity, and everything in between.
Big Mac, what did you take? Big Mac. Where's he from? Where's he from?
Tuberculosis.
Putana!
Habla español. Habla español también, retos, es. Sí.
You're gonna get deported.
You cannot make any objects in Garry's Mod. All objects and player creations are created from pre-existing objects in other games, such as Half-Life or Counter-Strike Source. As you've seen in this clip, the community is overwhelmingly young and male and can at times be described as not very sensitive. Given this, I'm interested in how players express themselves and their feeling of community through construction. So let's begin. To understand this, I'll primarily be playing the game, observing user conversations, looking at constructions, and browsing the forums and scouring the internet to try and find out as much as I can. When I played the game many years ago, the main way I remember players expressing themselves and their feeling of community was through large, aesthetic, collaborative builds, each user contributing a small part of their own vision to a larger project, as you can see on screen now. However, in the past few days of playing, through some forum browsing, conversations, and a couple of YouTube searches, the main thing I found in regards to community construction has been about constructing player bases to farm in-game money. Player-built bases are the result of an established meta, with YouTube tutorials and frequent conversations on how to improve them. They're deliberately designed using the game's physics engine to make them as difficult to attack as possible through a mix of physically blocking space and also poor visibility. The testing process for these bases often involves leaving a base up and waiting for someone to attack it. Watching through player-placed in-game cameras at a distance, the constructors use the would-be attackers as lab rats, to use my source's phrasing. Often, there's nothing inside the base, but sometimes items will be left to ensure that other players don't see the effort as pointless. Following the attack, the constructors then examine the base, see which parts survived and which parts didn't. The bits that didn't survive are then reinforced and then left to test again. Despite this though, there's still room for construction for the sake of construction. As you can see by this nativity scene, a lot of them are just reflections of wider culture in a digital space. A lot of player constructions that I assumed were built purely for aesthetics did in fact have a functional purpose. Both of the constructions in this video were built with either the idea of attracting donations or the user selling their services as a builder to other players. Now, I'm going to shift focus a little bit. In scouring forum posts, browsing YouTube, observing conversations, and talking to people, I couldn't help but notice this decline narrative many of the players presented. Many of them feel as though the server is dying and the game with it. So much so that I had more conversations with players about the server dying than I did about player constructions. Members of the community appear to view the game's early 2000s look and feel as a double-edged sword of sorts, with it serving as a nostalgia draw for players, older players, and also alienating younger, newer players, which the server desperately needs to survive in their view. This next section is going to be a little bit unscripted. I lost my recordings, so I hope this still contributes to the storyline. Now, given the nature of what I was seeking to document, I felt that video would be the most appropriate format. However, due to an error with my recording software, I lost about half my video. So I documented at the same time I documented during using screenshots, and this is where most of my screenshots have ended up in slides like this. Unfortunately, a couple of really useful voice conversations have been lost, but I wasn't going to use them anyway because of difficulty anonymizing participants. So anyway, I'm going to focus on one specific conversation here to talk about our decline narrative, so let's zoom in. Okay. So this was organized in a way not to be easy to read, but for me to be easy to document as it was happening. So I'll run you through here. Our red is our participant right here. This is their in-game character. Blocked out their name. But yeah, so first thing I ask is, what are your PC specs? The reasoning being, I'm interested in why people are playing a 20-year-old game when they have such a ridiculously overpowered computer, as you can see right there. And so yeah, our user's been playing for about 10 years, a long time. Most of the players on to this day have been playing for quite some time. And nostalgia seems to be the main sort of reason why people play. He acknowledges that later on as well. This thesis of people growing up and leaving the game behind has been present among most of the conversations I've had with people. But again, it's kind of the worry of like not being able to find the exact same experience sort of keeps people here. You know, this nostalgia, this desire to remember better times and support the community that gave them those better times, even if it's not doing it now. Yeah. Now, corroborating this decline narrative and generalizing it was difficult, but if you look at the server operator's website, none of their servers are anywhere near full capacity, and the forums are definitely much less active now than they were a couple of years ago. Despite this though, the content on the forum seems to be more or less the same as it has been for the past few years, with a mix of inside jokes and who's better in terms of groups on the server. From this initial probing, members of the community see the relationship between community and belonging, and the health of the server is intertwined. Community drives participation in the player-run economy, and this in turn fuels a lot of player constructions. If any of these factors decline, they may reinforce each other in a feedback loop, leading players to look elsewhere and stagnation for the server. Ultimately, players see the server as a digital third space, a place to find community and conversation, and player constructions are just a result of this.